Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, first of all, I think would like to continue on the shout out to Pontem. Thanks so much for organizing this great event. Definitely, we should do it more. And a little bit about myself. So my name is Hai Chao. I joined the crypto space around 2018. I first started with working at a project called Nervos as DevRel. And then during these 5 years, I worked at four different layer one projects, including Nervos and Solana, and then Algorand, and then shortly at Aptos as well. So during this whole time, my role was pretty much the dev role. That's why I'm bringing up this topic to you today here, talking about how to build a Move developer community, especially in the context of Web3. And with me here, we have John from AE41, and also Steve from the project Move DID, and also the biggest Move community in China called NonsGeek. So so why not you guys start with introduction to yourself and your project you are working on? Maybe John, do you want to start first?
Sure. Hi guys, my name's John Park. I run a validator company based in Seoul, South Korea called A41, and I moved into crypto starting from 2018. I started on my crypto career as one of the co-founders of a co-working, co-living community for crypto builders called Nonce Foundation in Korea. And after that, I used to work in different projects, different teams. But before A41, I was head of BD for one of the validator companies in Seoul called DSRV as well. But yeah, right now, we're one of the Aptos validators, and recently we won a Seoul hackathon with the infra and tooling project that we were working on called Move Hub. I'm happy to join today's Twitter space to talk about how to build a Move developer community for Web3. And although I'm not a dev or DevRel like Hai Chao, but I hope I could actually contribute to today's space.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, by the way, they actually won the first place on at the Aptos hackathon in Seoul, in the I think infrastructure and tooling track, right? And
Right.
yeah, so it's a pretty good project. So just guys go check it out. And Steve, you wanna introduce yourself and the project you're working on? Steve, you're still muted. Maybe you need to turn your mic to speak.
Sure, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. You can go ahead. Steve, you're still muted. Maybe you need to turn your mic to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute myself.
Sure, can you guys hear me? Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. You can go ahead. Steve, you're still muted. Maybe you need to turn your mic to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute myself.
Sure, can you guys hear me? Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Steve, you're still muted. Maybe you need to turn your mic to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute myself.
Sure. Okay, looks like there's some technical issue with Steve, so we will be working on that. But in the meanwhile, maybe we should kick off the panel at the moment. Yeah, so I think I should be introducing my project as well. So if you all don't mind. So as I mentioned, we are building a layer 2 with Move language, and layer 2 is on top of Ethereum. The reason we are building is because from language side, we've seen that Move is rising. I believe all of us here agree with that. And then on the other side, there's a new architecture who's rising, which is layer 2 optimum arbitration, and and also just a lot of modular blockchain projects, including them, except besides of the layer 1s and the monolithic blockchains. So that's why we are building this one, try to bring Move to high performance off-chain solution to all the Move developers. Yeah, and so the first question I want to be talking about is around Move. Like, how do you think about Move in general? Like, why do you love this programming language, and also why do you choose to build on it, or with it, or for it? maybe John, you wanna start?
Sorry, I was coughing. The like Move language itself, I think. I mean, as a multi-chain validator, when we look at Move, compared to other languages like Solidity, definitely Move has strength as is a very modular language, and like the fact that it's modularized could actually like bring in more devs from the Web2 community, because like it's if equipped with services that is similar to like npm.js or crate.io, like these the Move language itself could evolve and like bring in more people to use these modules and develop in an easier manner, right? But the thing is, right now for Move, it is important and imperative to actually create a service that could provide the metadata of the Move modules, because it's a language based on module functions, right? So that's the basic thought that I have on the Move. And the reason we chose to build with Move was basically because we're running a validator on Aptos, and also we're trying to onboard Sui as a validator as well. And we're trying, as an infrastructure service provider, we're trying to like build tools for the ecosystem, and so that devs could easily like onboard the ecosystem and like make it more vibrant. And that's the reason why we chose to build with Move.
Got it. Awesome. So, Steve, I think you are back, right? So, do you wanna say something? Introduce yourself and the project.
Yeah, sorry for the bad connection. I think the web version wasn't really working well. But hey everyone, thank you for bearing here with us. My name is Steve, and I'm a builder from a Move-based DAO called Nowspeak. It's actually the largest developer community DAO in China. And the project I'm working on is called MoveDID. It's a very developer-focused DID solution that links your on-chain identities, such as like addresses from multiple blockchains, not just limited to like Move-based chains, and also like off-chain informations, such as like your contribution records on GitHub and etc. So MoveDID was actually one of the like roughly 20 projects selected out of over 200 during the first round of Aptos grant DAO on like DAO hacks, and we're also like participating in the second round of the like DAO hacks grant. Yeah, so that should be about our introduction.
Yeah, thank you. So, right. So you guys started the basically the first Move language community in China. So I'm wondering why did you do that in the first place? Like, what do you see in this? Do you see in this language Move, and also for the Move DID project, what inspires you to build it, and what's what's the rationale behind that?
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of like starting the first Move-based community in China is because that it's still a very early ecosystem, and just like the sheer number of developers in not just China but also like worldwide, based on Move, is like still rapidly expanding. So I think it's a great opportunity to be in this like the rapidly moving train. So that's like one of the reasons we started with like a Move community in China. The other reason is more based on the like great innovations from Move, and just related to your second question, like why we're building a DID solution on Move, because we think it's a just very natively suitable language for like a DID solution, because like under other programming or like languages such as Solidity, the like all the DID informations are like scattered around different contracts, and that's like not very convenient because DID is more like a user-centric type of data collection, like protocol or platform, whatever you say. And on this part, Move is like just natively suitable because all the resources are stored under a user's address, and the user is also like the only person who can modify the resource. And that's why we think like DID is like really natively or like suitable for a solution under Move. So that's like the rationale before like building this project using Move.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, so I just want to remind everyone that this is an open panel, just like the Move language itself. So if you want to speak to any of the questions, or if you just want to join the panel, feel free to raise your hand. So the next topic I want to talk about is like, for a lot of times when I'm trying to introduce the Move language to others, they would be hesitated because they feel like it's a brand new programming language. There must be quite a learning curve for them to join this space. So I'm wondering, what's your thought on the on learning Move? Like what's the what do you think is the barrier for new peoples to join and learn Move? Maybe John, still, you wanna take it first?
Of course, of course. I think I mean I'm a non-dev, but when I asked my teammates who are on the tech team side, like what were their hurdles, like during the hackathon and before the hackathon, when like what are the hurdles that they face when using Move, right? And some of the hurdles that we faced as a team is that like when devs want to reuse like on-chain module functions in Aptos, it is like almost impossible for them to kind of search those functions. So like when they want to reuse those module functions, like it's hard to search. And the reason for that like is because no entity or no one is indexing the existing functions yet. And also like it's hard to map map the on-chain information on the modules and the off-chain information on like GitHub, right? So like these information are not mapped, and that actually leads developers to feel a little bit uncomfortable using Move. So that's the feedback that I received from our dev team. And also the public functions, like the function execution like through web UI is a little difficult for Move at the moment, whereas like if you compare that to ETH, like through Etherscan you can do like contract execution. For Aptos, the similar environment is not yet prepared. So those will be the hurdles that devs who come to the Move community may face. And I think that the point that we wanted to solve through the Aptos hackathon, our team, was to like solve or give a solution for aggregated transactions to be executed in an atomic manner, right? That is not being supported in Move yet. So those would be the hurdles that devs may face when using Move. But I think the solution for that could actually start from indexing like these functions, like module functions on Aptos or like on Sui. Like those would be the first stepping stone.
Got it. So basically, you have barriers on the language level where you need to learn brand new language, and also these frameworks on Aptos and Sui, and also maybe some other projects coming up. They provide different interface for apps to build for devs to actually build their apps. And then there's missing of toolings and infrastructures which you guys are tackling. So yeah, it's it sounds, yeah, fair enough. So Steve, you wanna chime in here?
Sure, definitely. Because personally, I'm also a like builder and a student, learning Move like on a daily basis. So I think I'll speak on this about like two facets. The first facet is more like on the language itself. Because personally, I came from a Solidity and like front end JavaScript type of background. So for me, like Move is a brand new language that's more like based on syntax like C and Rust, and it's very different in the sense that like Move is more like strongly typed. You need to like define the abilities of a certain data structure, and on the abilities, it's more like if you haven't actually like done Move development before, abilities is more like the way you define like the behaviors of data, and it's a great feature of Move that you can simulate how a resource behaves in the real world. But when you are like actually programming in Move, you need to like think about like different abilities, like the indexing ability called key, and also like the storage ability, the drop ability. And these are like very hard to wrap your heads around. Given my personal case, like coming more from like a loosely typed language and more like Solidity based background. So I think that's more like on the nature of the language itself, and also just the syntax is not very intuitive because you need to constantly think of any data you have in Move like as potentially a resource. So for example, if you like take a data as like an input for a move function, at the end of the function, you need to either like destroy it, or you cannot just drop it if it doesn't have the drop ability. So things like that, just as an example, like really tells that it's pretty hard to wrap your head around. But once you get over that point, I think it's actually not that hard, in the sense that the things that Move can accomplish, or like the type of assets they can abstract, are quite similar to like other languages like Solidity. So it's more on the just the language itself. Yeah, I see someone raising hand. Should I be like switching over to them, or they might have questions?
Got it. Yeah, I feel like it's true that it's, well, the Move, this name Move actually came from Move semantics, where you can see in C++ and all those uh, relatively low level programming language, where you have to if you have worked on that, maybe this syntax is easier for you to understand. But it feels like for most of the dApp developers, it took quite a while for them to learn. So maybe in the future, the smart contract level will be divided into front end and back end itself. So there will be front end smart contract developers who doesn't need to know a lot. There will be back end who will be able to develop a more complicated back end smart contract for them. Yeah. So Shamrock, you want to check in here? Chime in here, Shamrock. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, it's right. Thanks for having me. I actually have a question. You covered it somehow partially, but I'm asking for my friend. It's easier to have some experience in coding, like with Solidity or something like that, or it's easier to onboard completely not familiar person, like for coding Move.
I think if you are familiar with Rust, then you definitely know the grammar. But it's again, it's developing a smart contract, so I think the logic is much different than Rust in that way. For me, I feel like, so I came from my technology background is mainly around front end. So for Move is something brand new for me to learn, and I also learned Solidity before, and I think Move compared to Solidity is just it's very different, but in the same way that I feel like it's so much better than Solidity, as in it's more like a programming language. It's something that I would use to build a much complex app by the end of the day. For example, if you want to build a game engine instead of a smart contract VM, I couldn't imagine how to do that with Solidity, because there are so much different modular functions you need to call each other, which is something intuitive to do in Move, but it's hard to do in Solidity. So I would say, based on what apps you want to develop and based on your experience, overall is very different. But overall, I think Move language is more suitable for any type of Web3 applications.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was actually mostly for gaming purpose. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for covering it.
Yeah, if it's for gaming and you're thinking about building a fully in contract backend, then I would suggest Move for sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yep. So yeah, thanks John and Steve for the answer. And next question would be around Web3. So I have previously mentioned about Move is more suitable for Web3, but the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what is my definition for Web3? I think you will have different views on this one than me, but I will let you start first. John?
I honestly don't have a sexy answer for that, but I mean, most people just call like Web3 as like a decentralized internet. I think the core tenet of Web3 could be agreed upon, like many players and many entities, that we have self-sovereign, like, self-sovereignty in terms of, like, data that's on the decentralized internet. And also, like, there's the mechanism within this decentralized internet. We have ways to actually, like, earn rewards for all the actions that we take. So for instance, like, as a validator, like, you create a block, so for the blockchains to work. You're maintaining the network, you're upgrading the network alongside, like, all these, like, on-chain governance, off-chain governance as well. and you get rewards from that by getting delegation from people who are like agreeing with you, or who wants to stake their assets through to your validated nodes, right? So for me, like, I don't really have like, sexy one liner like sentence for Web3, but it's more like, it's what you get for what you do, and the Web3 is the vehicle that allows that, like, by giving self sovereignty in many ways, not just the data privacy, but like, for all your actions as well. So yeah, that's my unsexy answer for Web3 definition.
Got it. Okay. And Steve, the Chinese Steve, and Steve Monkey, I will cue you later. Is that okay? So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I'll be answering this question also in a relatively unsexy way. So apologize before that. Yeah, so I think it's just all the definition John covered, and also it's obviously the internet of value. And on this part, I think I'll be queuing like Move a bit more in that I think Move is very natively suitable for like a Web3 application, given that it has a very like high parallelism between like real world assets and also data defined on the language, and that's like all defined via the virtual machine, and also the like type of frameworks that define by different like layer one chains like Aptos and Sui. So I think yeah, that's my definition for Web3 is basically internet of value, and it's great for Move to be defining that, given its like great native functions. Yeah, that's a pretty short answer, but that should be it.
Okay, thanks. The other Steve, you raised their hands before. Do you wanna give us your definition?
Yeah, I like to think of Web3 like a third generation of the internet. Like, it's a technical concept, but I'll do my best to explain it in simple terms. Oh, the first generation of the internet, or Web 1, 1.0, it was all about this static web pages and simple online interactions. It was mostly one-way communication with users browsing and consuming content without much ability to interact with it. Well, the Web 2, on the other hand, was introduced in a new level of interactivity and user application. Yeah, this Web 2 was an era of social media, user generated content, dynamic web applications, and so on. Plus, the Web 2, it's actually made it possible for users to not only consume content, but like to also create and share their own. Now, moving to Web 3, which is a decentralized and democratization, is based on blockchain technology, which like allows decentralized networks to operate independently of traditional centralized servers. Like, what this means is, instead of relying on a few large companies to control the internet, the power is distributed among many users, many nodes, making the network more resilient and more resistant to censorships and manipulations. Yeah. And another thing I would like to add is like Web3 is focused on creating, dApps, like decentralized apps that run on decentralized networks. You get They consist of like wide range of purposes, finance, gaming, and so on. So that's just like my little definition. bits loud, but that's what I have.
Got it. Yeah, I think user experience side, it's more like that. I would, yeah. Okay, 8-bit, you can go first.
Hey, hi, Chiao. Thank you. Pontem, thank you for having the space. Shamaros, the Steves, both the Steves, Angel, I see you there, and John, just wanted to say thank you for hosting this space and the panel. I'm out here in East Denver. My name's 8-bit. I first started doing cryptography in 1997 while I was in the Air Force, and kind of didn't ever think it was going to rear its head in my life again until I got into some metaversal projects a couple of years ago. And so I'm an Aptos maxi. I'm definitely checking in at Aptos House tomorrow. I'm got some serious jet lag. Move is on the move. I mean, it's very exciting for me to see a best of class network that layer one that is just, you know, so robust, so strong, and it just gets me very bullish, frankly speaking. I come from a very strong Web2 background in energy recycling and carbon tracking, lastly with FedEx and Amazon. So I've been blessed and just kind of moving it along, and I see a lot of applications, not only just on the MP4 music, as well as like you know, these exchanges are amazing as well. But it's I just see a beautiful vision in the future, and I like every single thing of everybody's saying on the panel. I'm not just throwing flowers for nothing, because I don't. And Web3 to me is it's like kind of like in Ragnarok when they rode that bridge into, it's like it can bring you, not like the Web 2, like I think it was, I forgot who was just mentioning about Web 2, but Web 2 can kind of bring you around the world. Web 3 can take you around the, at least our solar system, if not universe. I mean, I feel that it's just, it's, you know, in each particular network, there's few, they have very strong segments that they're very good at. And I like to see that. And I like to, in Aptos, the ability to go poly chain easily and have the smart devs like everybody who I'm listening to. I'm, like I said, I'm a entrepreneur business background, but I work very closely with coders. I understand some to very, you know, a topical degree. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow, and just wanted to say hey and warm up the space.
Thank you. And Shamrak, could you please keep your answer short enough, because we do have a TED schedule here. So yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick statement about Web3, because for me personally, all this ecosystem right now reminds like 20 years ago when I had my first internet, like dial-up, you know, and yeah. So it's kind of the same, but way different, but still the same connections, you know, and everything is more exploding, like more perspectives, but still, you know, we had the same feelings like 20 or 25 years ago, and I have right now the same feeling, like a deja vu.
All right, good. So yeah, we can talk about tomorrow about Web3 later. But for now, I think we all have our own definitions of Web3. But the last question I want to ask is, do you think Move language will be the choice for most of the Web3 developers in the future when a lot of Web2 devs come into this space? Do you think that's true? Why and why not? John?
It's a difficult question. Well, like the modularity of the language is definitely going to allow a lot of the devs to onboard like, you know, Web3 through Move. But do I think it will be the final choice for all the Web3 devs? I don't really think so. Like, you know, I would rather believe in a future where there's a multiple networks and multiple like chains that are like sustaining this whole idea of crypto and Web3. And if that is the case, then Move is going to be one of the core pillars of like the crypto. But yet there will be other languages, and I think Move has a long way to go, in a sense that, as I said before, that there are a lot of the hurdles for the devs to onboard at the moment, because the module functions are the key for the Move language, yet there are no indexing. And even with the indexing, there should be like on-chain, off-chain mapping for the information that are like, you know, that are tagged to these like module functions. You know, we have such a long way to go. But with if like L1s that are adopting Move as their language really do like care and contribute a lot to the language itself, and like, you know, and tooling and infra side. I think Move really does have a chance to become one of the significant, like, you know, portion of like the whole Web3.
Got it. Steve?
Yeah, so I actually have like a similar take, and I think I'm gonna explain this through like the things I think are great about Move, and also the things I'm like less sure about. So in terms of the great things about Move, like obviously I've been talking about this quite a few times, is basically the great design philosophy and like the innovation it packed with compared to like other like blockchain languages. So I think it's a great thing that Move really separates data from like resource, and like because it natively defines like resource as unduplicable, and it's like very great for like simulating resources on chain as opposed to other languages like Ethereum Solidity, like which more like simulates resource using data as opposed to more like natively defining a resource. And that's like a huge breakthrough for the Move language, and also like great safety features natively inherited from Rust, very strong typed, and also has like the native like Move prover system that does like an auditing check before you can do like any human type of check. And again, there's also like additional problems that Move can solve, like as opposed to other like layer one. So for example, the high gas fee of Ethereum, which requires lots of layer two to patch up, but for Move is like not a language, not a problem like from the start. So just given all of these advantages, I think there is definitely enough breakthrough like by Move to make the call, or like just to tell a story that it could potentially be like a Ethereum killer or whatnot you call it. And that's on the good side. But on the bad side, I think, or not the bad side, but more on the unsure side, I think it's still like pretty early to make the call because the community is still like rapidly expanding, and at this moment we are speaking is still like pretty small. Like personally, I've talked to like Sui's like ecosystem ambassador, who basically empowers like project teams to build on Sui, and like has all the connections to like different emerging startups. And he told me like it's still like a very small market in the sense that there's probably less than 1,000 like developers in China, and worldwide is like maybe just a few on the lower end, kind of like 1,000. At least like based on the Telegram groups like he manages. So it's still like a very small community. But given the fact that, for example, Swiss mainnet is still yet to be launched, I think there's still lots of like additional catalyst in terms of attracting additional developers that should be seen like in the future. And the additional point that I'm less sure about is like it's not just about the technology innovations the language brings in that defines whether it can eventually be the like final or like only like language for developers, because I think it definitely also depends a lot on the network effect, which basically means that the more something's adopted is more likely to like gain additional traction. And I think that's definitely the case with like Ethereum, because it's a great and big community, and additional like innovations like layer 2 has been actively built up. So even if like Move excels a lot on the technology front end compared to like Ethereum, it's still like kind of hard to, or like it could be a barrier for Move to break through, given like the sheer number of like Solidity dApps that already like doing this language, and the fact that it's kind of hard for them to switch over, given like the very different logic of the two languages. So I think on this part is definitely like the first mover advantage can be a lot, and definitely remains to be seen if this is something like we can break through, and which I definitely hope like Move can carve out its own niche and in the multi-chain future, as John mentioned earlier. And the other barrier I think is that definitely John also mentioned is the infrastructure that's still like very nascent. And from my like personal perspective, developing a Move is kind of hard to find like documentations except the official ones. You cannot really search for like any like tutorials from like Stack Exchanges, Stack Overflow, or like websites like that. So it's not a very great developer like experience so far, but I think that can definitely change with time, given like we have more people on board. Okay, so I've been rambling a lot, but just as a summary, I think in terms of the technology, Move is definitely something that excels compared to other like layer one solutions. And on this part, I think it'll be the final solution for developers. But this is definitely qualified by other factors, such as the networking effect and the first mover advantage of like other blockchains, and also given the very nascent infrastructure system that we still need to like actively build on. I think it's definitely a lot remain to be seen. Yeah, so that should be my judgment for now. Thank you.
Yeah, got it. I think it's pretty common that most of the projects right now, they when they are choosing which chain to build on, they are thinking it from an ecosystem perspective. And I feel like for Web3 apps, well, at least by my own definition, for a true Web3 apps, they should be building an ecosystem for themselves. Your app is your ecosystem, and by that time, choosing which chain to build on and which language to use would be purely a technical decision that is being made by the CTO of the company. So from this, being said that, I feel like Move can be a great choice for complicated and some large Web3 applications, and also to provide a more architecture choice. At Rooch, that's what we are building. We're building a modular layer 2 so that if they want to choose Move and then they want to choose something off-chain, then we can provide that. That's also why we are working on this. That being said, I feel like you already have your own definition on Web3, and you are working on Move and or with Move. Then the next question would be, what is your strategy on building the Move dev community for your own project? For example, for Move Hub, you would want to have more devs to adopt your tools, and for MoveDID, you would also want more devs to integrate its solution to their apps, which all these are all requiring the devs who are building projects using Move. So on this level, I feel like we're working together. We all want to build a Move developer community. So I want to ask you about what's your strategy on building this community?
Like, I guess like there are two parts to it, right? Two aspects. One from a strategy coming from our own end, but like a strategy coming from like L1s to us. Like I'll first just start off with our strategy. Like I guess like it's solely focused on like, you know, being an easier solution, right? As I was saying, like, you know, the whole idea of the Move Hub, like the idea that we proposed for the Seoul Hackathon was to just propose an easier solution to devs and end users to participate in the ecosystem, right? Like, you know, by indexing the modules and functions, people can find them through the Explorer, and by searching all the modules and functions registered in the Move blockchains and utilizing them for their codings, I mean, they could easily they could do more, right? And that easier like environment, like where people could like are able to code easily, see there like all these module functions like being simulated before they actually put it onto the execution, and like do block coding or something like that would definitely be a good push from our end to devs, because, you know, we're giving a value proposition of easiness to use, right? That's definitely like, you know, a strategy for us to get adopted. I don't know whether we're really gonna ship it, but if we do, I think that's gonna be the number one focus, right? The devs, the user experience. But I think number two, like, you know, aspect of like, you know, getting more adoption is not just coming from the project side. I think a lot of the L1s, when they first get their money out, get their money, and when they get listed, and when they come to the market hot, like, you know, Aptos did, I probably like think Sui is going to come hot to the market as well. When they do, their ecosystem or growth team tend to focus on like, you know, bringing in like, you know, big DeFi projects or dApps to their ecosystem first, right? Yes, that is really, really important, but like, you know, these L1s or core teams or foundations need to focus more on the devs and dev tooling side and the infrastructure side. Definitely, like that will bring more devs, and with that tooling, like devs could build more things, right? But having like, you know, famous DeFi's or famous like dApps to migrate to your chains may do some good on the first, when the market is hot, but it will just be, you know, it will just bring in like a lot of the mercenary devs and the people who are just like yield farming, right? So I think those are the two layers that projects need to work on, like, you know, the one from the project side, and another that projects like us need to like prod these like L1s to like, you know, take care more about the dev ecosystem and like tooling and infrastructure side first, because that is good for the longer run.
Great. Steve?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what John said, and my answer will like focus a bit on like the project we are building. and also speak a bit to the community. So first on the project we're building, MoveDID, again, as I mentioned very early, is a very dev-focused project that links on-chain identities such as addresses from different blockchains, and then also off-chain data such as their contribution records, issues, pull requests on GitHub. So from day one, we are very developer-focused. And given MoveDID is more like a generic solution, we have not just for devs, we've been actively building additional use cases in the form of extensions and a couple examples. One is the airdropper, which also won the Aptos grant from round 2 on DARHacks. And that airdropper is basically trying to get data from public open source projects GitHub, and then based on their contributions, whether it's the lines of code they write or the number of pull requests they contribute to, based on these giveaways for developers or project teams to distribute the fund they get from whether it's a grant or hackathon reward or etc. It's basically a way to distribute rewards for open source projects to incentivize the continuous development from these contributors. And on this part, I think is basically building more use cases for devs to actually benefit their projects, and that's the way we think we're attracting more devs to the project and the ecosystem, just by providing the public type of infrastructure. And additional things we're considering on the horizon include a README generator for developer profiles based on their identities or contributions to open source projects, and many more. And additionally, we've also been talking to stakeholders such as Microsoft, for whom GitHub is one of their products. So they do have the vested interest to expand the use cases for these open source communities. And that's basically the way we've been trying to push more devs to adopt our project for MoveDID. So that's more on the project side. On the community side, I definitely agree with also of what John has said, and definitely admire what you guys have been doing in terms of building a better indexing and function service, and more a open library for the devs, because I personally think is very important. Given that I'm not just working on MoveDID, the only project, I've also been working on or trying to work on some mobile project on Move, but on that part, I find it's just surprisingly there's amount of infrastructure built from mobile wallet, for example, and that's just very hard for us to build a community on that. And on that end, I think it's very important to keep doing the infrastructure for the public good, and that's definitely the first step for attracting devs to this community. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, from our end, well, personally speaking, I feel I really believe that Web3 is gonna be a big thing, and at Rooch, what we are trying to do is simply to provide more flexibility to all the Web3 devs by providing this architecture to them to build on, so they can just if they want to use Move to, but they want to have higher throughput rate or better performance, can build on layer 2 that we are building. But also, I think what more importantly is that they could choose to build their own ecosystem with their own infrastructure without need to get themselves attached to any of the existing ecosystem. I think that's a big part for them to basically not limiting themselves, but to release the full power of Web3. And for that, I think Move language is going to be a collective effort to be developed first. And I think what my next question would be around, how do you think that we can cooperate together to grow the Move community as a whole? I'm gonna think about it from a infrastructure perspective. John can talk about it from a tooling perspective, and Steve from a DID. That's kind of kind of like wallet level of software that is going to be needed by most of the projects. So I would like to hear your thoughts on this. How can we work together to build a Move community? John?
Well, like I'm sorry that I'm keep bringing our firm's hackathon project, but like in order to like make Move Hub work, there has to be a lot of hurdles that we need to overcome. But it's not just we can't do it on our own. We have to get help from the core team, like foundation side. At the same time, I mean, I'm not just talking about grants, but actually like the real support coming from the DevRel side, and also care, and also like a lot of cooperation with wallets, like because we have to upgrade the wallet interfaces in the Move L1s in order to make Move Up work, and a lot of feedbacks, right, coming from the community too. But what I've seen like so far in the crypto, like the thing is like for the tooling side, yes, there are only like certain players who just work on the tooling, and it sometimes becomes like a cartel, in a sense that like these grants just becomes too focused on or concentrated on a few players. It happened in the other like L1s, like I wouldn't like name call them, but like it could easily like turn into just a cartel of like players, right? And that is the something that everyone should be very like aware of, like of like avoiding those type of problems. But at the same time, like being very open about the project, and like being like very like supportive in terms of like giving feedbacks and trying to like integrate as much as possible with other toolings is definitely like a key stepping stone for especially like from the tooling and infrastructure point of view, like um like that's going to grow the community, like it's not just devs, but like but like from other like community members point of view too. Like if something gets too concentrated, and like if everything gets become cliquish, and like if everything becomes like happening on the behind the doors, you know at first, like it may like facilitate the process and the speed, but later on it will probably lead to the loss of support and credibility of the community. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I do agree that most of the projects I've met so far, I think it's a common situation among all the projects right now is that they want to, their decision making process is based on what kind of ecosystem container they can choose to build in. It could be an L1, could be an L2, and in the meantime, some of these infrastructures would also, tie all the projects into their ecosystem without letting them grow to other ones. Um, I think this is reasonable at the moment, but still, I feel like if you are seeing you are building a Web3 project, you should not be afraid of going out there and go hustle for your own users without the help from the ecosystem you are choosing to live in. You should be able to be the most strong part of this pipeline, that you are the one who can say what chain you want to choose to build in, which chain not to choose, because you are so strong that you can get all the users with the user experience you designed, with the technology advancement you have, and then you come back and talk to the ecosystem that you are working in and asking them for for some support. I think that's the way I would imagine most of the Web2 devs, when they come in the Web3 space, they will choose to work on their own first, and then consider, just firstly consider what makes sense for them from a technical perspective and getting user perspective, and then think about, can I get support from that ecosystem? I hope that's the future. um, yeah, Steve, you want to chime in here?
Sure, definitely. I think just speaking a bit more to the infrastructure side, I think it's very important for like the core team or the grants to like keep rewarding the public good projects. And just going back to the example of, for example, the wallet on like mobile phones and like this kind of mobile system and SDKs and etc. I know there are like a couple teams actually building those out, but don't really have like the incentive or like plans to release them, because like for example, the mobile SDK is not very technically hard to do so, but it definitely requires like lots of efforts. In the sense, you need to like encapsulate the RPC calls from like the server and basically rewrite them in like the format of SDKs. So it's like it takes lots of like efforts, but it's not something that is really like financially can be like commercialized. So I think on this part is important to keep rewarding the communities building the public goods, in the sense that trying to convince them to keep building everything in open source, so that can like benefit everyone instead of like reinventing the wheel, because like that's definitely a huge barrier for the dev community. Yeah, so I think it's a very important facet, and the other facet is like potentially building a another super app that's more suitable like natively for the Move blockchain. I think Move the idea is trying to do that, though definitely has a long way to go, because we think the idea is a very natively suitable solution for like Move, and I think the like next super app can hopefully bring additional like users and to the ecosystem. And I definitely know that also from a like grant award perspective, it's not just the like projects that contribute the most to like public good, but also in terms of their level of innovation or potential to bring like additional users to the ecosystem. That's also like part of the consideration for like the core teams making grant rewards decisions to like the projects. And I think just like keep doing that, and let's all keep the open source nature. Let's all build additional infrastructures, and definitely there's a lot to be done in the future.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, so we have go through all of the questions we have. So if anyone wants to bring up any questions right now, or if you wanna just comment on everything we just talked about, it's the time to raise your hand. Nope. Yeah. Okay, so I feel like we have talked about what is the why do you join Move in general, and also we have talked about your definition of Web3, as well as what do you think about the relationship is going to be around between Move and Web3. The final thought I have is that um, I do realize that there's a lot of projects who are kind of contain limited inside of a box, and this box is that DeFi, and the box is that ecosystem that this is something that you wanna attach to when you launch your app. But I really hope that's not the future we are looking at. And for that, I'm thinking, yeah, well, right now at Rooch we are doing fundraising. We don't have any money yet, but if we do have money for grants, I'm thinking to launch the grant for not just us, but for Web3 and for Move in general. So if you are building with Move, if you are building in Web3, no matter if you are launching on our platform, we hope that we can provide a grant for you. I realize this is something that should be done by a third party, but I hope that something should be doing it. So if this is I will consolidate this idea with the rest of the team, and hopefully we can make some progress on that and tell you guys about it. Yeah, so thanks so much for, yeah, just before we end, anything else you want to see guys here? John, Steve, you want to see something else?
Just one short thing, and I mean, as a one of the bigger validators who got delegation from Aptos Foundation, I might be just poking up elephant here, but I hope that like in the near future, I could actually see more collaboration on the L1s that are using or adopting, and all the other chains that are adopting Move to like work together to actually like further the growth of Move language in the community.
Yeah, I hope. I would just say names. Aptos and Three, they are the biggest player in this space, and I really hope that they could collaborate to move this language, to build this language and make it better. But well, I think there's a reason that's why the thing that happened recently happened um, by Sam Blackshear. But I feel like there's the underlying reason, which is that the interest is not aligned between all the Move contributors. Move language at its if you can just think about it from an open source project perspective, right? So if they are the contributor of an open source project, and a lot of people, big projects are using your open source project, but then you're not getting paid for that, then that's the interest is not aligned. So that over time you will lose the interest on building it further, and then all the projects using your language will also fail. So that's the case that we could say for the future of Move. So that's the question we need to figure out as well. I intend to take a lead on fixing this problem, but I hope that we can also get a lot of help from the existing community to support this initiative. I don't have a solid idea right now, but I'm considering something. Yeah. So thanks for bringing this up. Steve, you wanna say something else?
Maybe also from the community perspective, I think in terms of infrastructure, I definitely like to see like more educational materials, whether it's like lecture or like project-based type of like tutorials that appear more like on the internet, because it's very easy to onboard yourself on Solidity, but for Move is like less so. And I think something that John's been doing is very great, and I think keep doing that, and we'll definitely thank you for those kind of contributions.
Yeah, I would say what John is working on, that thing has the biggest potential to become the sort of the NPM for Web3, just like the NPM for the Web2, right? So if you go to the repo of the Move language, you will see there's a line written by, I don't know, maybe some. It goes like the Move will be the JavaScript of Web3. So for that, we definitely need something like npm to manage all the packages and modulars in this space for all the developers. So that's something I really appreciate. Thank you, John. And well, we are approaching the end of our panel here. If no one is raising hands, I think we can conclude this safely. Pontem, maybe you can take it over here.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and thank you everyone, all the speakers, and HL for moderating. Yeah, definitely, this is a very important topic. Again, as Pontem, I just want to iterate that we really care about the Move community, want to bring everyone together, and we'll continue doing our best to do so. And really excited to have everyone here, really diverse community, and continue to grow it. Even me personally, I'm a huge Ethereum fan, so really looking forward to decoupling the language from the L1s and really just building stuff that solves real world problems and brings people together. So yeah, really appreciate everyone joining and for having this important conversation. And yeah, thank you everyone. And we'll start transitioning over to the next session.